Many people are converting to Islam despite the media portraying Islam as a bad thing. Because of this Palestine issue as well, people are converting to Islam. And on top of that, many people don't like the degenerate behavior that Western culture puts out. And people are trying to come towards to God, come towards righteousness. Because Allah Azza wa Jal put this thing into our hearts. Allah Azza wa Jal put the light into every human being's heart. But due to sins, the light get lower and lower. Many people, their heart is screaming to get towards God, to run towards God. That's what we are seeing in today's world. In today's video, we're gonna react to some revert stories. Inshallah, we're gonna enjoy this. Let's react to some of the videos.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. If I had to give two reasons in a brief video as to why I chose Islam, it would be faith and law. I'm a young guy, I'm 21 years old, I live in Scotland in the United Kingdom, and the typical life path for people my age, and it has been this way for the past few generations, is one of hedonism, it's one of degeneracy, and it's a lawless life that we're fed, where it's have no love for your brothers, have no love for your sisters, concern yourself with only what you want in the form of your own desires, don't put your morality and what is right over your desires, satisfy yourself and don't really care about anyone else. Since I was young, we've been fed the idea of atheism, and atheism is something that has not been backed up by any proof through scientific method. I mentioned this on my other channel, that there is the scientific method, which is you have an idea, you test it, you change a variable, and then you try to disprove it, and if you can't disprove it, you then have a law. There is a trademark term called the science, and the science is a trademark patent, and that's how they can funnel you with any form of propaganda. When you hear a term called the science, it's not scientific method, it is a trademark. But when they tell you that you are a monkey that comes from nothing, came from sludge in the dirt from an explosion 15 billion years ago, and that's how an eyeball has formed over billions of years of mutation, and that's how you get a child's giggle. I don't think so. I'm not signing off on that. There is no, when you make a claim, you have to back up the claim. The onus of proof is on he who makes the claim. If you're going to come to me and tell me that I'm a monkey that comes from nothing and spinning around on a ball in infinite blackness with no purpose, no reason to be here, no higher power at all, and I should just indulge myself and get what I can, you have to prove that. I don't have to disprove it. The claim is on the onus of proof is on he who makes the claim. So I believe this idea that we are mutated monkeys that have fornicated for so long, that we have planes in the sky, an internet connection, poems written, and the giggling innocence of a child when he is born. The reason that I believe we're told we are these mutated monkeys is because it brings in moral subjectivity. I noticed around me, and I don't want to say I'm different than anybody else, I don't want to make that claim, but there's lots of things I'm going to touch on as we go along. There's lots of things I've noticed as a young man that I find completely disgusting. Haram things that no one around me seems to care about, and I don't know if I have a deeper conscience than the people around me, and that's why I reverted and no one else has. But I think the problems with the modern day world, I think the way they bring it in is through this idea, this lie. Every cookie has a baker. This lie that we come from nothing and there is no higher power. Because if you convince people that they are just space monkeys who have no reason to be here, you then bring in moral subjectivity. You then bring in this nihilistic, depressive existence where there is no reason to do anything. What you also do with that is you take a brother who you would have fought for and learned from and created a great life with. You would have taken a sister who you would have protected and you would have cared for. You would have had a wife who you would have created a beautiful family with. But when you bring in this atheism idea, that brother who could have been great service to you, who you could have honored for your life, he now becomes competition. The sister that you could have taken care of, you no longer care now because everything is over-sexualized, and this idea that do you see what I mean? I'm having a hard time articulating it. The wife that you would have had, who you could have created a beautiful, loving family with that would have gone on to last for decades and centuries, She's now just a girl that you would meet outside of a nightclub, because why would you want to reproduce? Why would you want a family? There's no higher power, there's no one judging you. You might as well just lie to her, sleep with her, and never see her again. And I think the fruits of that rotten tree, this rotten idea that we come from nothing, I started to realize that the fruits of that were poisonous. I looked around me and I realized pornography is completely legal in the West. And I'm not signing off on that. I'm not signing off on the fact that a young boy, when he's 9 or 10 years old, can get access to internet pornography, even if he's not looking for it, and be enslaved until he can beat it when he's 25 or 30. I'm not signing off on the fact that OnlyFans is now the 4th biggest career choice for women in the West. The same women who would have gone on to be community leaders, they would have gone on to be mothers and wives.
There is another beautiful video that I've seen. I think it's from a revert. This is a really good video. Let's react to this.
Peace be with you. When Muslims are faced with hardship and loss of lives, you will often hear them say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. That's an Arabic term, and I'm not pronouncing it correctly, more than likely, because I don't speak Arabic like that. But that is an Arabic term that means to God we belong, and to God we will most surely return. That is a mentality that Muslims are supposed to have when they are suffering hardship. God tells us in the Quran, in the 2nd chapter of the Quran, verses 152 to 157, Therefore remember me, and I will remember you, and be thankful to me, be grateful to me, and do not be ungrateful. O you who believe, seek help through patience and prayer. Surely God is with the patient. And do not say of those who have been killed in God's way that they are dead. No, they are alive, but you do not perceive. And most surely we will try you with somewhat of fear and hunger, and loss of property and lives and fruits, so give good news to the patient. Those who hardship afflicts them say, to God we belong, and to God we will most certainly return. Those are they on whom are blessings and mercy from their Lord, and these are the followers of the right course. These verses are probably the scariest verses in the Quran in respect of the dunya, in respect of this world for me, because God tells us, and most certainly we will try you with somewhat of fear and hunger and loss of property and lives and fruits. If you live long enough, this will happen to you. Whether it's natural disasters, whether it's war, whether it's disease, whether it's financial bankruptcy, we are going to be tried with hardship. It doesn't matter who you are. And just to put things into perspective, if you are struggling with desire right now, if you can't even leave the things that are haram, especially out here in the West when we are so inundated by them and it's very hard to resist them, if you're having a hard time battling desires and you fail to remember God and act correctly in those instances, then how much harder it's going to be when there's fear and hunger and loss of life. To remember God is to recognize the situation and understand what God wants you to do in that situation. And when hardship afflicts us, God wants us to be patient and to remember that we are heading there no matter what. Whoever is oppressing us, they're heading there no matter what too. But it's such a hard thing to do. And I am terrified of failing. And I think every reasonable human being should be terrified of failing. It's easy to say, to act like you're Billy Badass and say, yeah, if I was in this situation, this is what I would do. But anybody that's sincere, they don't know how they're going to react in fear. They don't know how they're going to react in hunger. They don't know this. We don't know this. So I think it is imperative for every Muslim adult to consider these things and to try to have at least some sort of mental preparedness for the hardship when it does come. Of course, you can never prepare for this fully, but at least if you expect it, then there's a chance. God tells us, remember me and I will remember you. To remember God means to recognize and remember what God wants from us in these situations, and then we do them. And be grateful to God, and do not be ungrateful. O you who believe, seek help through patience and prayer. Surely God is with the patient. I cannot imagine the pain and suffering that people are going through in Gaza right now. Even though I grew up in a war and I've seen that already, I've seen it as a child and not as an adult. And I cannot imagine the pain and suffering that they're going through right now. That pain and suffering you can only experience when you are going through it. Even if you went through it before, you kind of don't have the same feeling of urgency that you do when you are going through it. And when that happens to us, we have to remember this. And I don't even know how. Try to develop that mentality. We all need to try to develop this mentality while times are easy, because once the times start being hard, if we haven't even prepared for it, at least partially mentally, then we are guaranteed to fail. And we shouldn't be the ones to fail this. To God we belong, and to God we will certainly return.
It's crazy how some of the reverts are more knowledgeable than Muslims. When reverts come to Islam, they change, and they change in a way that some of them start learning Arabic, some of them start learning and pondering on the verses of Quran. Many people don't even open the Quran as Muslims, and they are born Muslims. While reverts like these open the Quran, try to understand the book of God. If you want to see more reaction videos like these, comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, you can like and subscribe to the channel. That will help spread the message of Islam. I'll talk soon, inshallah. Peace.